You know what's funny? Most men think women only want to hear they're beautiful. That's the default compliment. It's safe. It's easy. But the truth is, beauty fades, attention shifts, and surface level words don't hit the way you think they do. What women really crave, the kind of compliments that make them feel seen, aren't about looks. They're about depth. The first one is this: I respect how you think. You want to stop a woman in her tracks. Tell her that, because it means you actually listen. You're not waiting for your turn to talk. You're processing her perspective. Most people don't realize how rare it is for someone to be recognized for their mind. She's been told she's cute. She's been told she's hot. But has anyone told her she's brilliant? That her logic, her reasoning, her problem-solving skills are something worth admiring. That's the kind of compliment that goes beyond validation. It's acknowledgement. The second one, I trust your judgment. This one's powerful because it speaks to leadership, to capability. When you say that, what you're really telling her is, I see you as competent. I believe in your ability to make decisions. And that builds something stronger than attraction. It builds partnership. Women want to be seen as reliable, as someone who can stand beside you, not behind you. This kind of trust-based compliment hits differently because it communicates equality and respect, not flattery. And the third one, this is the one that most men miss entirely. You make me want to be better. That's not about her doing anything for you. It's about how her presence, her standards, her energy elevate you. You're not saying, you complete me. You're saying, you challenge me. That's a compliment rooted in growth. And when you give it sincerely, it tells her she's not just inspiring. You're evolving because of her. Here's the truth: women don't crave validation. They crave recognition. They want to be seen for who they are, not what they look like. So if you want to give a compliment that actually matters, stop focusing on what's visible. Start noticing what's valuable. Most people don't realize how surface level their compliments are until they start paying attention to what actually lands. Telling a woman she's beautiful, cute, or gorgeous might get a smile, maybe a thank you, but it doesn't linger. It doesn't change how she feels about herself or about you. Why? Because she's heard it 1,000 times before, sometimes from people who barely even know her. It's easy to compliment what's visible. It requires no effort, no observation, and no real understanding. But when you take the time to look beyond appearance, to notice what's beneath the surface, that's where the real connection happens. Women value depth because most of their lives, the world has taught them to be valued for their looks. From the time they're young, they're praised for being pretty, polite, or put together. Rarely do they hear, you're insightful, you're strategic, or you have great instincts. So when someone actually sees that side of them, their ambition, their discipline, their thought process, it feels like a breath of fresh air. It's not about dismissing physical compliments. It's about expanding beyond them. Because physical attraction might catch attention, but emotional and intellectual recognition keeps it. When you compliment a woman's depth, you're saying, I see you for who you are, not just what you look like. Rare. That's powerful. It tells her that her value isn't conditional on youth, makeup, or style. It's rooted in her essence. And that's something no one can take away. Women crave that kind of acknowledgement because it reinforces their sense of identity, not just their appearance. It tells them they matter for reasons that last. The thing about depth is that it requires effort to notice. You have to pay attention to how she approaches challenges, how she treats people, how she solves problems, how she handles pressure. You have to listen, not just to her words, but to her energy. When she talks about something she cares about, do you actually hear her? Or are you waiting for your turn to speak? Because that difference between listening and waiting is what separates men who understand women from men who just want their approval. Depth also means you recognize the layers she carries. Maybe she's confident on the outside, but cautious on the inside. Maybe she leads with strength, but still questions if she's doing enough. When you can acknowledge the complexity without trying to fix it, that's where trust builds. You're showing that you value all parts of her, the strong, the uncertain, the evolving. That's not just attraction. That's connection. The irony is that the deeper the compliment, the less you have to say. One genuine statement like, I love the way your mind works, will hit harder than 100. You're beautiful. Texts. Because beauty gets attention, but depth earns respect. And once a woman feels respected for her depth, you've given her something far more meaningful than admiration. you've given her recognition. Respecting how a woman thinks is one of the most overlooked but meaningful ways to show genuine appreciation. Most people listen to respond, not to understand. They hear words, but they don't actually process what's being said. When you tell a woman, I respect how you think, you're doing something very few people do. You're recognizing her intellect, her reasoning, and her ability to navigate the world with her own logic and perspective. It's not about agreeing with everything she says. It's about valuing the way her mind works, even when it challenges your own. Women notice when someone truly listens. They can tell when you're paying attention to their thought process, not just nodding along waiting for your turn to speak. Respecting her mind means you take her ideas seriously. You ask questions. You remember details. You think about what she said even after the conversation ends. That level of attentiveness is rare and it's magnetic. It makes her feel seen in a way that goes far beyond attraction. It builds trust. Because when a woman feels that her mind is respected, she starts to feel safe being fully herself. This kind of respect also shifts the dynamic from validation to partnership. You're not putting her on a pedestal or treating her like she's fragile. You're recognizing her as an equal, someone whose insight holds weight. Maybe she's strategic, analytical, creative, or deeply intuitive. Whatever her strength is, you acknowledge it not as competition, but as contribution. That creates synergy. It turns conversations into collaboration. It transforms connection into growth. What's powerful about respecting a woman's intellect is that it speaks to her identity, not her appearance. Compliments about beauty are momentary. They make her feel good for a second. Compliments about her mind create lasting impact because they reinforce her self-worth. You're affirming something she's built through effort, through experiences, through learning. When you say, I respect how you think, you're validating years of discipline, curiosity, and resilience that shaped her perspective. You're telling her, I see the work you've done to become who you are. It also communicates confidence on your part. Insecure people feel threatened by intelligent women. Secure people are inspired by them. When you respect her mind, you show that you're confident enough to learn from her, to engage her in real dialogue, to let her challenge your thinking. That's how strong relationships, romantic, professional, or otherwise, are built. Mutual respect for intellect breeds better communication, better decisions, and deeper connection. And here's the truth. Women don't want to be the only ones carrying emotional intelligence in a relationship. They want a partner who can meet them mentally, who listens to understand, who respects their ideas even when they disagree. When you genuinely admire how she thinks, you're not flattering her. You're honoring her. You're telling her that her mind matters just as much as her presence, and that acknowledgement will always mean more than any empty compliment. Trust is one of the deepest forms of respect you can give a woman, and telling her, I trust your judgment, carries a weight that most people underestimate. It's not just a compliment, it's a statement of confidence in her ability to make sound decisions, to think clearly, and to lead when necessary. When you express trust in her judgment, you're acknowledging her wisdom, her experience, and her capacity to handle life's complexity with strength and discernment. It's saying, I don't need to control you, I believe in you. And that belief is what creates real partnership. Most women are used to being second-guessed. They've been told what to do, how to act, or what's best for them by people who never took the time to understand their perspective. So when someone actually says, I trust your judgment, it hits differently. It tells her she doesn't need to prove herself. She doesn't have to over-explain her choices or justify her instincts. It tells her you see her as capable, as someone whose decisions hold weight. That kind of validation isn't just flattering, it's freeing. It allows her to operate from confidence instead of defensiveness. Trust also shifts the energy in a relationship from hierarchy to partnership. It stops being about one person leading and the other following. It becomes about collaboration. Two people who bring different strengths to the table and respect each other's input. When you trust her judgment, you're saying that her perspective matters in decision making, that her intuition has value, and that her voice is not just welcome, it's essential. That's what makes relationships feel balanced and secure. There's also an emotional depth to this kind of compliment. When you tell someone you trust their judgment, you're revealing your own vulnerability. You're admitting that you're willing to rely on them, that you don't need to have all the answers. That's powerful because it tells her she's not just there for support. She's someone you genuinely lean on. And for women who are used to giving endlessly without being relied upon in return, that kind of acknowledgement feels rare and grounding. Trusting her judgment also shows you recognize her competence in different areas of life. Whether it's how she handles people, her approach to challenges, her ability to read situations, or the way she carries herself under pressure. It's not blind trust, it's informed respect. You've observed how she moves, how she thinks, and you've decided that her decisions align with integrity and wisdom. That's why it means so much, because it's based on understanding, not assumption. And here's the truth: when a woman feels trusted, she rises. She becomes more decisive, more confident, more grounded. You're not just complimenting her, you're empowering her. Trust is fuel for growth. It tells her she's earned her place, and she doesn't have to shrink herself to make others comfortable. Saying, "I trust your judgment," is more than words. It's a reflection of how deeply you respect her strength, her clarity, and her ability to lead with both heart and reason. When you tell a woman, "You make me want to be better," you're not just giving her a compliment, you're revealing something about yourself. You're admitting that her presence has impact, that who she is naturally inspires growth in you. It's not about her fixing you or leading you. It's about the standard she carries, the way she moves through the world, the discipline she has, the way she handles challenges. It pushes you to level up. That statement tells her she doesn't just add value to your life, she elevates it. This kind of compliment hits deeper because it's rooted in self-awareness. You're not saying she completes you. You're saying she challenges you. There's a big difference. Completion comes from dependency. Challenge comes from admiration. It means you see qualities in her: focus, resilience, integrity, courage, that make you reflect on where you can grow. It's not about comparison, it's about motivation. Her strength becomes a mirror that shows you your own potential. Most people are attracted to comfort. They want someone who makes life easier, not necessarily better. But the truth is, comfort rarely breeds progress. Growth happens when someone pushes you, directly or indirectly, to stretch your limits. When a woman brings that kind of energy into your life, the kind that demands accountability just by existing, you notice. You start thinking differently. You start wanting more from yourself. Not because she told you to change, but because she reminded you what's possible when you do. Saying, "You make me want to be better," also tells her you're emotionally mature enough to be influenced. It takes humility to admit someone else brings out a higher version of you. It's vulnerable, but it's powerful because it tells her you're open. You're not stagnant, not complacent. You're willing to evolve, to learn, to grow. And that's incredibly attractive because it shows self-awareness and emotional intelligence. You're not intimidated by her greatness. You're inspired by it. For women, this compliment resonates deeply because it means they're not just being seen for their beauty or their presence, but for their impact. It means the way they live, their values, their work ethic, their emotional strength actually changes the environment around them. It's a recognition that they influence not by force, but by example. That's validation on a level that few compliments ever reach. And what's even more meaningful is that this statement isn't about dependency. It's about reciprocity. It tells her she's with someone who's willing to grow alongside her. It shows that you're not threatened by her ambition, her confidence, or her power. You want to match it. You want to rise to it. That's partnership. That's alignment. When a woman hears, "You make me want to be better," she doesn't just feel appreciated, she feels understood. Because it means she's not just loved for who she is. It means she's respected for the difference she makes. At the end of the day, the compliments that truly matter aren't about appearance. They're about acknowledgement. Women don't want empty flattery. They want to be seen, understood, and respected for who they are beneath the surface. When you tell her you respect how she thinks, you're honoring her mind. When you say you trust her judgment, you're affirming her capability. And when you admit she makes you want to be better, you're recognizing her influence. These aren't just words. They're reflections of genuine awareness. Because when you learn to speak to a woman's depth, you stop trying to impress her and start connecting with her. And that's where real admiration, real intimacy, and real partnership begin.